Hello and welcome to the Session Cancel podcast. A bog witch stole our gnome in his eternal quest for the perfect Hawaiian shirt, so Session got canceled today. Hello and welcome to the inaugural episode. My name is Josh, and I am here with friends and fellow compatriots at the tabletop. Sam.
Hello.
Isaiah.
Hello.
And Matt. Ow! God.
Bro, why are you like this?
Starting off strong, Matt. Starting off strong.
So
We've been over this.
All right, I'm
Cro-Magnon.
Cro-Mag, yeah, right. Cro-Magnon
You
brain.
couldn't
Anyway,
just get a
Mac?
normal hello?
None.
Like,
No, apparently not.
Never.
Hey y'all. So Sam had a little audio bug here at the start, so you're gonna start hearing me talking and responding to the void. Sorry about that. It's all fixed at around 4 minutes or so it's not awkward for too long. We're still working on the best way to do a recording setup, but it should be good in the future. I think we figured out a solution. Sorry about that again.
Anyway, who are we and what are we doing? Who are random motherfuckers in the basement? That doesn't matter. What are we doing? We're doing the thing where we talk on the internet. We're doing the podcast thing, along with 70 bazillion other people, or however many there are out there in the world. It's a big number these days. We're here to talk about tabletop. Any and all tabletop is fair game. Anything from mechanics to themes to how we play to what kind of DMing to do, what we do as players, so on and so forth. All that fun stuff. I don't know, maybe we'll just complain about a single supplement one day. Because that's fun to bitch about. And yeah, today the plan is to talk about how we all got into the hobby, because I thought that was a good little, a good primer, a good place to start. How we got into it and why we play tabletop in the first place, because I'm sure there's lots of fun stories out there in the world, and I know some of us have some trying times they went through in the early days.
how are you gonna call me out like this?
I didn't call you out. I said some of us. I didn't say a name, Isaiah.
No.
So you just called yourself
called me
out.
out to this friend group, not to the internet. I was gonna have to tell this
I
story
mean,
no matter what.
That's true. That's very true. So I don't know who or how we want to start. I will say this: me and Sam have kind of a shared origin story when it comes to the tabletop space. So I feel like we should probably go last or towards the end or first. You think we should go first? How are you feeling?
I feel like Isaiah should go last because, oh boy.
He's probably got the longest story. That's true. Yeah, I don't really know Matt's story either. I kind of know Isaiah's deal. Matt, I have like very little info on. And yeah, like I said, me and you, Sam, we grew together, as it were. Do you remember what the ground zero was for us, Sam? Like, I remember we had a conversation, but like, why? Like, what spawned it? I don't remember what spawned the conversation. Do you?
Damn, you guys started with 40. Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah. Right. So that's kind of the funny thing. So so Sam, you're referring to like when we decided, but I think the inaugural conversation before we even like were like, all right, we're doing it, was I don't remember why it came up, but it was just me and you at your house, and we were like talking about D&D, and I didn't know much about it. I understood the basic concept of a DM and players, but in my head, D&D and like tabletop in general was a board game where one guy was in charge. And the funny thing about that is 4E was the most board gamey of all the editions. So when I started playing, my like board game assumption was reaffirmed kind of incorrectly, which was just a weird happenstance. But the reason we started with 4th edition was because when we were in high school, or maybe middle school, when we were, I don't know, we were like 13 or 14, that was the newest edition. Like 4E was recent-ish. It wasn't brand new, but it was recent. So that was just the one we grabbed. I didn't even really know editions was a thing. I don't know about Sam, but I didn't know editions was a thing for the most part.
I knew editions were a thing because like I had always heard about like 3rd edition, but Yeah.
You didn't know what it meant, really?
I didn't really know what the differences were, and like I had played Baldur's Gate before. I knew that was based off of nothing that we played. I still haven't played second or advanced or or the pseudo advanced because there are some ruling differences between the games. But like, you know, 4th edition was the edition that came out. We had the ability to buy the starter set. We
bought the starter set.
It wasn't a problem. And again, you know, playing in your basement, literally first character I rolled up was a wizard, got murdered by goblins. I think I asked you if I could roll to hang myself, which was
this I do not remember.
I remember this very specifically because I thought it was hilarious at the time, and I'm like, wow, that's kind of cringe.
Oh, what the fuck, bro? Yeah, no, I remember. We did like a we kind of did a session 0 without knowing that was a thing, sort of, because like it was you and I think it was, well, names don't matter, but 2 other friends. And we just sort of started playing, and I just quickly threw y'all fuckers in a dungeon, and I didn't really understand. Again, I thought the DM was just like the guy who ran the show. I didn't know you needed to also kind of be the narrator and such. So I did it very board gamey-esque, which is funny. And I very much did not read the rules. Sam read the rules and conveyed them to me, and I made a lot of assumptions about how the rules worked, which is not. Don't do that, kids. Please read the rules.
I mean, I always read the entirety of the rule book before I play.
Yeah, no, I didn't do that at all.
It's just kind of a thing that I do. It's what I do with board games.
I dead ass looked at monster stat blocks and just assumed how they worked, because I was pulling a lot of my knowledge from video games. You know, like I was pulling my knowledge from, like, I knew turn-based came from D&D as a concept, like for video games. So I was pulling my knowledge from shit like Final Fantasy and Pokemon and how that stuff functioned, and making assumptions about how the rules worked, like things like stunned, for example. And I mean, I was kind of correct, sorta. The other funny thing was, so I don't know, Matt and Isaiah, if you guys have ever like looked at anything 4E, but creatures like you have?
I haven't. So like anything I know about 4E is what I've learned through osmosis from you guys. Osmosis.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Osmosis, you're right. So one of the funny things is, so creatures' speed in 4E, like how far they can move, is listed in a number, but not feet. It just says 5 or 6 or 7, because 4E was basically, you had to play with a mat, you couldn't play without, so they could literally move 6 squares. Now, if you do the math really quick, 30 feet in D&D equals 6 squares. So it's literally the same, but they didn't write it in feet, which reinforced the board game concept. And creatures in 4E have classes. So there's like brutes and controllers and lords and like backline, like they all have like classes to their stat blocks, which again further pushed the board game video game thing in my brain. So I had a really off perception of how tabletop worked, like in general, the first time we played and for a while afterward.
Player classes also had that distinction, by the way.
They did, yes.
So like now,
like a wizard was a controller.
Unfortunately, if you actually take a deeper look into these, at least for the player classes, these roles end up doing the exact same thing, like word for word with a lot of them. And also, Josh, it was 6 players that you were DMing for on your first game.
Bruh.
So so that was the other thing. So
fascinating.
Yeah, right. No, it is funny because Isaiah. The reason Isaiah says that's fascinating is because I vehemently basically say 3 players is the best nowadays. So the fact that I always say 5 is my hard limit.
Prize in a 6-man party right now.
But no. Right. Yes. Yeah. Well, no, but what happened was not it. So I started with 3, Sam, because if you remember, before we really got going, we did like test sessions. We did like the pseudo session 0s. Yeah. And that was you and 2 other people. So that was 3. And then we mentioned to our friends that we were trying to get the D&D thing rolling. Then it became 6. And I didn't think that was hard or a big deal at the time because, again, I had a crazy warped perception of how the game functioned. So I didn't think it was an issue. I didn't think it was my responsibility to babysit the players. Nowadays, I know I was a fool.
I know, like, 5e, it usually says somewhere in the text, like, this adventure was written for players, between 4 to 6 players. Did 4th edition have anything like that? Whenever you, read, an adventure or any of the books, is like, normally, this is run for 4 to 6 players.
That's a good,
Yes.
Yeah, so, but did it go to the point of, this story is best fit for, a controller, 2 DPSs, a tank, and a healer? Did it get that crazy?
That I don't remember. I don't know if Sam, you remember?
I don't think so. Mostly
I don't think so.
because 4th edition team comps were, my experience with 4th edition is limited. So don't fucking come at me with torches and pitchforks. 4th edition has the same problem that Pathfinder has, where you end up doing the same stuff over and over again. Yeah, sure, you can play this controller, but you can also play that controller. They end up having the same abilities. They just have different words describing what they actually do.
They have slight variations on it. Now, so yeah, I don't think it said specific team comp, this is what you want to go with. However, because the classes had this sort of role they filled, it did kind of do the MMO thing where you use the Holy Trinity. So you would have a tank, a healer, and DPS. That did kind of end up happening. So for anyone who's played WoW, for example, or Final Fantasy 14, because Matt doesn't, but me, Isaiah, and Sam play 14, and have played WoW. Basically, you would have your warlord or your fighter. By the way, bring back warlord 5e. It was a cool idea. Your warlord or your fighter would be your tank. I forget what they called them. I don't remember if they called them a tank specifically, but they basically were. And they had a bunch of abilities that would make the enemies attack them, and they would soak extra damage, all the usual tank things. So in WoW, you'd have your big warrior AoEs, or in 14, your enmity generating tank stance. You basically had that kind of stuff. And the other classes, the cleric had all the healing stuff, and sorcerer was big damage DPS. Sorcerer was your warlock or your summoner in 14, and then wizard was a weird one. I don't remember. Wizard was a controller, which I remember people being mad about with 4th edition. Not that we knew that at the time, but I remember that was a point of contention.
I mean, the thing is that it kind of makes sense for to do PC.
No, I agree. I just remember that was the thing people didn't like.
I mean, it's because they went from being able to do all these spells and writing spells down and having the ability to be versatile, to be kind of locked down into this specific area, which was kind of why people got upset, which is understandable.
Which,
honestly.
Side note, Sam, you remember playing your wizard and being like, I'm only going to use magic missile, because why wouldn't I?
I mean, I used other spells. I literally just couldn't hit anything with any of my other spells, so I was like, well, I guess I just do magic missile, because I can't get anything to fail my rolls. I can't hit anything with my damaging spells except for magic missile, so I use magic missile. I think I got some people prone twice.
Also, side note,
real, I feel that wizard life with having cursed spells. To this day, I preach about how Chromatic Orb is a cursed spell. It never hits. It doesn't do shit. And as much as I want it to be cool, it always fails me. So I feel your pain.
I think it's only cursed for you, Isaiah.
That very well may be the case.
It's cursed for everybody. No, I've never hit with it.
Oh,
either.
thank God. Yes.
Oh.
Vindication.
Oh. Good to know. By the way, side note, I just want to point out Sam's wizard character had an excellent wizard elf name combo. Zavril Arcanoscope.
I love that.
I still love that
so much. That's so precious.
It's very good.
I The fact that you
God.
even remember that name.
I remember that one very specifically.
Aw.
I remember Zavril Arcanoscope, and I remember Olaf Olafsson, which was Matt, not this Matt, but a different Matt.
Matt with two T's.
Is it Matt with infinite T's?
yeah.
Or...
No, two T's.
Yes. Or yeah, 2 T's, sorry. It's Matt
I
with
see,
2
I see.
T's.
Our family can only afford 1 T.
My favorite part about Olaf Olafsson is that he, 1, made the first roll of the game, 2, it was a natural 1, 3, he ended up punching himself in the face with a mug.
Nice.
Yes, he did. So I did that thing. So here's the thing. I did that thing that all early DMs do where natural 1s mean your character's a fucking idiot. So I had him literally hit himself in the face with a mug of beer. I would never do that nowadays, by the way, just throwing it out there to the internet. I'm not like that anymore. I just thought that was a thing that you were supposed to do. That's not what you're supposed to do. Don't be like that. Don't be that guy. Don't be that
I'm
DM.
gonna be real.
Sounds
I
tame
think it calls
compared.
for the situation because, like, I've been GMing for a year or so now, and like, if it was particularly stupid, I would totally have a nat 1 be like, and then you eat shit. But like, not usually.
So that's the thing. It wasn't particularly stupid. He just tried to throw the mug at someone. And I somehow came to the conclusion that the nat 1 equaled him hitting himself in the face.
I mean, to be fair, he had been drinking. It
He had
wasn't.
been drinking, but it was totally uncalled
so
for.
here's the easy fix, right? All you would have had to said was you throw the mug, but it bounces back in your face.
Didn't think of it at the time. You know.
Still pretty funny though. My favorite memory of D&D, honestly. Just the first roll of a game that I've ever actually been a part of. Natural 1.
Honestly, there's a lot of shit I did when I ran. That game didn't last super long, but we got a little bit out of it. I think I still have the notes tucked away somewhere for that game. Also, that's where I got my weird obsession with cults. I love having cults in my game. I don't know why. I started that game. It was a cult, and I've just never turned back from cults, apparently.
They're such a fun enemy to like just beat up. And stuff.
I don't know. I
They
use
do
them a
make
lot.
for easy villains.
Cultists, I guess. But there was a lot of shit I did, like making players look dumb and like having all the players make their characters on their own and then just sort of reading their backstory shit later down the road and having to fit it in, and like players doing shit in their backstory and not telling me, like where one player friend, she wanted to make her character a dragon or like a half dragon, and she just didn't tell me until later. What?
Huh.
I love that.
Okay.
Keep in mind, we were like 13,
That's
14,
wonderful.
so like, you know.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, who was
You
that?
remember that,
And
Sam?
Honestly,
Yeah.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, you do.
Without even, I don't even have to question it. I mean,
Only female in the game, too. So,
that's why I didn't have to question it. I was like,
she also basically wanted her character to have like infinite revives because
Oh my
dragon,
God, no,
I guess. I don't really remember.
I had to deal with that. Actually, very recently, Josh, you remember this? You were helping me figure this out with a friend of mine when he was trying to run a game.
Oh, yes.
And we eventually ended up finding this super obscure, like pre-UA thing that I think Wizards put out for a Revenant race that lets you respawn. But yeah, no, this individual in question was like, yeah, so I want to be able to go down and then just pop back up like Deadpool, and we were trying to explain to him like, nah, Chief, that doesn't work. You can't.
Yeah. That was one of those things I wouldn't do now, or if a player asked me something like that, I would like sit down and discuss it and like think of ways that I could maybe make it work or like add stipulations, so on and so forth. Like a good example of that situation. Well, actually, I was about to say Critical Role spoilers. I guess I won't for right now. I don't know. Whatever. Point being, there's ways you can work with that kind of thing. But you need to know about it and not just have it sprung on you, which is what happened to me. So yeah, that first game that I ran was quite chaotic. And I was running it because I wanted to be the DM, actually, because me and Sam talked about it, and Sam was like, well, someone has to run it. And I was like, nah, I want to be the DM. That sounds cool. And I generally stand by that decision. I think I still prefer to DM more than play most of the time. But it was funny that I offered myself up as the forever DM without even knowing the blood contract I was signing.
I love that contract. Except, you know, I think the only reason I actually love it is because literally all of us DM, so it's not really a problem for us to just cycle things out.
Now it's not.
Well, yeah. But like, you know, how many games have we all, or even counting one shots, like we've been in a bunch of games together now, and it's at least three of us have, at least three of us have DM'd for everybody here. So, you know, it's not terrible.
I'm biding my time. I'm busy. All right, I'm a busy man.
It wasn't a call out. We didn't use names, Isaiah. You keep calling yourself out.
You know what? Maybe, but I feel kind of called out right now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it wasn't a call out. It wasn't a call out.
Anyway, down with all that when he was
it
like,
wasn't. It wasn't.
Three of us. Like, look, man.
All right, relax, Chief. He was just stating a fact.
Audience, you decide.
Audience, you decide. Look, anyway, point being, I unintentionally threw myself into what many people perceive to be the most difficult spot without really knowing it. Although, I will just say, little local PSA for anyone who listens. Even 1,000 years from now, I don't know, maybe we're radio waves in space. It's not that hard to DM, just do it. Just do it. Don't be afraid, just do it. That's what I told Isaiah, and then he did it, and now he's doing it, and he's fine. Nothing happened. Nothing bad happened. Maybe a little bit of stress here and there, but he figured it out.
Round of applause.
I do actually
just go for it.
I do actually have a question about the story that you just told. So did the dragon thing come up? Like did she like, and then I turn into a dragon? Like,
so I think from what I remember, it was she had this whole backstory thing and she wanted it to come up soon. So she then showed it to me and was discussing it with me, but we were already like in the middle of something storyline wise. So I was like, well, I don't know how I'm going to handle this, but okay, this is information. I guess fucking, I don't know. So it wasn't like she literally just said, I turn into a dragon this turn or anything like that. I think she got the idea because she was playing a druid. So she liked the idea of a druid who has like a draconic ancestry thing, which by the way, not a bad idea. You just got to, implement and like work with your GM.
She's always had a thing with dragons. I have some personal stories of her and I writing stories together. Yes, very, very cringy teenage romance.
Cringe, bruh.
Listen, all right, but
it's okay. You were younger. Cringe is allowed.
That's the best time to produce cringe.
Exactly. I have plenty of cringe that I still have saved on my computer and shit from when I was a wee lad.
I thought you were gonna say something about being edgy. I was like, Josh, you never stopped being edgy.
All right, let's not. Don't start this. Stop it.
The edge is strong with this one, Shadow the Hedgehog lover.
What?
Excuse me. Okay, Matt. There's a running joke that I will defend the game Shadow the Hedgehog till the day I die. As a good game. Look, we're not actually having this conversation right now, but we always goof that I'll defend Shadow the Hedgehog.
No.
It's just a running meme at this point.
It's not a goof. It's not a goof.
No, it is a goof because I honestly
unplayable.
Okay. Again, here's the thing. Important part about the goof. I haven't played the game since I was like, I don't know, 16 maybe, and I'm almost 26 now. So like, it's a goof. I haven't played it in a while. Who knows? I may play it again and be like, wow, Isaiah's right. This is trash. I don't know. But I don't want to play it because it keeps the meme alive. I don't want to burn the nostalgia bridge. You know what I'm saying?
It's never too late. You could always just pick it up now.
I guess.
I still have the game. No, here's the thing. I still have the game in a working PS2. I could play it tomorrow. I could play it right now. Like, nothing's stopping me.
We just got to do it for a 100 episode special,
By the way, 25 minutes on the tangent marker talking about Shadow the Hedgehog.
Hey,
look.
we beat episode 0 by 10 whole minutes.
We did beat episode 0, the unheard
I think I caused.
episode.
I think I caused both of these, by the way.
I think you did too,
Both
Sam.
of them were
Yeah.
call-outs, which
Yes.
fucking
Yes.
tops.
Anyway, so yeah, the 4E game I ran was a mess. And there was lots of weird misconceptions I had about the game. And I guess, I don't know, Sam, did you also garner a bunch of weird misconceptions about tabletop in general because of that 4E game? Or like, I don't know. Did you have outside information that changed your mind?
I read a lot of the rules, a lot of things, and like I had played Baldur's Gate before, so like I wasn't super. Oh, so this is exactly how it is. I think I had played a lot of KOTOR at this point, as well as I think Dragon's Age was out. Dragon Age, not Dragon's Age.
Dragon Age was out, yeah.
So like,
Because the second one was like about to come out, or was out.
was it? Oh god, don't remind me.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Pretty sure. So like I had quite a few different interactions with like the whole rolling dice system and had an idea of how it was supposed to work. Also because I had read the book rather than just like whatever, I'll figure it out as I go. I kind of had an idea. I also had read some 3rd edition books prior to.
I often looked at Sam and would go, "Hey Sam, how does this work?" As the DM. I did that a lot.
I still kind of do that with games too.
Yeah, here's the thing. I still do that, but now when I do that, it's because it's about a really specific rule that I know you will remember and I won't for like a specific like your class or something. That's different. But I did it like way too much. Like I was so blind with that game. It was kind of crazy because I just wanted to like draw maps and like make up weird story nonsense and like bada bing, bada boom. One of our friends had a subscription to the 4E like online thing that they tried to do, you know, when 4E came out and they tried to bust into the virtual tabletop space and they basically jumped the gun a little early, so it didn't work out. But like we had a subscription to that. And because we had a subscription to that, like one of the things that it came with was, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a monster creator thing. So like I would make and design monsters a whole bunch. So like I made a bunch of cultist enemies and like a cultist boss and a bunch of other stuff. And then like I printed them out. So I had a bunch of custom monsters I was using for things, which I thought was really fun. And because 4E had the like video gamey monsters have roles built in, I liked planning encounters and stuff like that. But I wasn't like running the game properly. Like I wanted to run a board game, not a D&D game. So like it was a weird mess. Like I guess my heart was in the right place and my brain was not, is the easiest way to put it.
And that's all that really matters.
Yeah, right? Well, here's the thing, right? Because it's weird because a lot of people crap on 4E, but because 4E was designed the way it was, it actually got me to like DMing a lot when a lot of people don't have that experience. Because I played video games all the time, so I had that video game association, and then 4E was using a lot of video game-like stuff, so it made me like GMing, which made me play it more, ergo get into the hobby. So it's like, I always find it kind of weird when people shit on 4E and are like, God, 4E's the worst. I'm like, I kind of love it, and like, I kind of want to go back at some point, and I probably will.
I'm gonna be real. So before I did the game that I'm currently running, that I've been running for about a year and 6 months or something like that. Before that, I tried doing 5E previously with a different group of friends, and I just felt like I read through the player's handbook, I read through the dungeon master's guide, and I looked through the monster manual, and I was so afraid to prep things because I feel like I didn't really grasp the metric, if that makes sense. And I feel like had I had those metrics with something like 4E, I probably would have found it a little bit easier for entry. Because prep was such a nightmare. Like Like
Maybe.
prepping quests was like, it was difficult, right? Because you're like, oh, and then when this happens, and this will happen, and this and that, and me not knowing that none of it matters anyway, because the players are just gonna go run up a wall and or try to piss out a window and almost be murdered by crows. It's fine. So yeah, I feel like I would have appreciated that more with less knowledge, and now that I have more, it's a little irrelevant. But yeah, I certainly feel like that would have had an impact on me.
Yeah, right? Like it's an interesting thought. Also, I think it's funny that you say that, Isaiah, because having now had you as a player in several of my games for quite a while, you're very good at grasping rules, picking up on the system and figuring it out and just rolling with it. So I find it interesting that you're saying however 5e delivered it to you on the GM side just didn't jive with you, because I would not have assumed that.
So it kind of has to do with the way that I started playing, which I guess we're saving for last, so I'll just kind of, I will explain that in a little bit.
This is a good transition. Go ahead.
Go for
Okay,
it. Yeah.
all right.
Segue.
I mean, you could start, but I do want to save the big chungus of your stuff for last, because I do think it'll be a good closer.
My goodness. Okay. So yeah, I'll save it. I think I'll save it, Matt. I'm gonna throw you the floor, because there's no real good stop point halfway through this story. It just keeps going. So yeah.
Fair enough.
You sure?
Well, hold on.
Totally.
Well, before we transition off though, because I'm curious about something. So that was the whole deal with the 4E. Like I said, Sam was in that game with me, so me and Sam sort of rose together in our like understanding of the hobby and growing into it and so on and so forth. But we diverge because that game didn't last that long and we were in high school. And once that game petered out into nothing, we were also trying to play, we were also playing in person, right? And we were all in high school, so getting to each other's houses was a whole other problem. But then we diverge, stopped playing. I picked things back up in college, my first school, in my first year, because I started listening to actual plays or watching actual plays. And then that made me want to get back into it. And then I heard about Dungeon World, and Dungeon World was free, and I got really into it, read the rules for Dungeon World, started running a Dungeon World game, and then that eventually spiraled off into me running a whole bunch of crap, of which I've got a pretty good repertoire at this point. So I guess my question to you, Sam, is at our divergent point, what happened with you?
I know I tried playing at a couple other 4E games at that point. I think like me and two of the other players had tried something, and then we invited one or two other people. I think we also tried to do it online for a while. This was well before like Roll20 as well, so it's very difficult.
Yeah,
it was
the 4E online tabletop thing, right?
Well, because that wasn't really like a tabletop game thing. It was more to organize all of your character sheets.
It didn't have like a board aspect to it? I thought it did.
Not that I can remember. It had like I said, it was a character creator essentially. It wasn't fully fleshed out.
Yeah, it was very D&D Beyond-esque. It was basically trying to be D&D Beyond before Beyond became a thing.
Yeah.
So wait, how were you trying to play online then?
Yes. I think we had like 2 or 3 people in person, and then the other 2 would like Skype in. Oh god, Skype.
That sounds like a time.
Then after that, I don't think I played a whole lot of tabletop games. I think that went on for like half a year after we stopped playing. Then like a lot of the stuff really didn't pick back up until like we graduated high school, I should. Yeah, and then like I played a bit of 3rd edition. I think I dipped my toes at the Pathfinder at one point. We played a bunch of Powered by the Apocalypse games.
Yeah, because that Dungeon World game, when I started going back into things, I know you were in that.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I had used Roll20 too, and that was when Roll20 was just starting to be a thing.
Oh god, I remember like the APIs, all the camera system as well being really buggy and not really working.
Yeah.
And we tried using the voice stuff on there as well, so people would just cut
the
out at
Roll20
random.
voice was terrible. Also, Discord wasn't a thing yet, or had like just came out, so we didn't really know about it. I
don't think it was really a thing at that point. Like, it definitely wasn't as widespread.
Not even close. No.
So like, you know, and now we're just kind of here.
So basically, we diverged, but we reconverged at basically the same point. So
Pretty much.
Me and you have basically followed each other through the journey the whole time.
Yeah, I still think it's funny that you've never played 3rd edition. I'm like, yes, I have. I have also played World of Darkness without you.
Yeah, I forget that you did play a little bit of 3rd off to the side, but yes, it is kind of funny because, I mean, Jesus Christ, Sam, how many games have we been in with like each other at this point?
I can't even count. I don't.
A lot.
I don't know.
It's been a lot.
Let's see. We've played 3 different Powered by the Apocalypse games to each other with each other.
And I think 4 possibly, because like I want to say like 2 were Dungeon World and 2 were Apocalypse World.
No, I meant like different systems, or well, not different systems, but different like games, because we had Apocalypse World, Dungeon World, then we had Souls of Steel.
Oh yes,
and we played
yep.
every single one of those twice, by the way.
Correct.
Then we had Cyberpunk. Whatever.
Oh yeah, Shadowrun.
Shadowrun, thank you. I
Yeah.
got the genre, not the name. Yeah,
Shadowrun was a time.
We got stories about Shadowrun for days, and we only played like 3 or 4 sessions.
Yeah, pretty much.
We played Stars Without Number. We've played obviously 5th edition, 4th edition. Played a lot more 5th edition now. We've got several campaigns under our belts. Blades in the Dark.
We did Blades.
We've done Blades in the Dark twice as well.
We have done Blades twice, and also we played the Sprawl. That was another Powered by the Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Let it be known to the internet at large, Powered by the Apocalypse is my favorite thing to run, so I've played quite a few of them. And have read others that I have not gotten around to playing. So, you know.
Yep. I can't wait to introduce all of you to World Darkness. It's going to be a great time. I'm really hoping that my PTSD with it is just PTSD, because I think we could have a good time playing in the vampire setting, but at the same time, it would be even funnier for me to see it from the other side, and you guys going, why? Why is the system built this way?
I commissioned a character already. Yeah.
No, you
I
did
paid
not.
for a commission.
You told me.
Character sheet's not even done yet. I'm like, it's already happening, baby.
Yeah, I feel like the game campaigns always get rolling because either me or Sam are like, I want to run this, and then that's pretty much it. It's usually one of us.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty much how it is.
Yeah, like Burning Wheel or no, wait, hold on, that's an anime. What Isaiah? What's the anime RPG?
The God one.
Kamigakari. There we go.
Oh,
yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Matt, with 1
Thanks,
T.
Matt.
Okay. Yep. What I'm here for.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just. I just found it. I just think it's funny. Me and Sam have had the like rising journey through the hobby together. Which is kind of why we're doing this in the first place, I suppose, because we just like talking nonsense at each other. Is, I guess, the moral of the story.
Doesn't everybody?
If there's supposed to be a moral. I had one last thing. My brain. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, me and Sam, we had a weird entry into the things through 4E, the system everyone makes fun of. Go figure. I don't hate 4E, by the way.
I don't hate it either. I just, I have memories of 4E Ranger and me wanting to be a blade singer in 4E.
Yeah.
So and then never getting there because we stopped playing before I could.
For those who don't know, by the way, the reason Ranger, Beastmaster Ranger specifically, sucks big doo-doo balls in 5E is because it was fucking busted in 4E. So they nerfed the hell out of it.
Imagine, if you will, you just being two people in the action economy. That's what Beastmaster was.
You just basically had 3. You could have multiple beasts too, so you were just like 3 characters. It was pretty wild. Anyway, Matt, I guess we'll segue with absolutely no segue at all. I'll segue into what's your deal? Because I don't think I know at all, really.
What's your deal? What's up with you, Holmes?
What's your deal, Chief? What's up with you, Holmes? How'd you get into this whole situation?
That's
because, well, so just because the first time we played with you, Matt, was we were looking for another player to add into our Curse of Strahd game, and Isaiah said, "What about Matt with 1T?" He didn't say the 1T part, but he said, "What about Matt?"
No, it's canon.
I was like, "Yeah, it's canon." And I was like,
"Canon is Adrian."
That was a goof from Curse of Strahd. So yeah, Isaiah was like, "What about Matt?" And I was like, "Sure, we can try Matt." And we asked Matt, and then Matt joined us in Curse of Strahd, and now he's been in most of our games.
Hey, it's been a fun time. But no, I guess. So, do you want the original, like how I got into tabletop, or how I got into D&D? Because those are two completely different.
How you got into the hobby period? Is kind of where I'm at.
I thought you were going to say, do you want the normal version or the crazy version?
The weird version.
The wild version.
No, not for this. Unfortunately, I have a very boring fucking tabletop origin.
Just to throw the context out, Matt was showing me and Sam a video, or no, he's showing me the steamed hams bit from The Simpsons because I had never seen it, and he just goes, "Do you want the regular version or the wild version?" And so now that's just the thing we say. He showed me the wild version. It was a time.
It was great.
It's so good.
But no, so I know you guys. Are you guys familiar with like White Wolf games and some of the properties?
We literally just talked about it, Matt.
I know. For context. God.
Oh my God.
Jumping down my throat. Anyways,
go ahead.
So they made this game called Scion, and Scion is basically like you are a child of a god. It could be a Greek god or Japanese god or Norse god. Doesn't matter. You are the quote unquote scion of a god, and you go out into the world. It was like, what if like Percy Glackson was like more modern and edgy and stuff? And it's like you had guns. And this was probably like I don't know, like freshman year of high school.
I just really like the idea of, what if Percy Glackson just racked the Glack on Zeus?
Wait, did you almost just say Percy Glackman?
Oh no!
Yes,
Why didn't you?
Percy Glackson.
Oh no, brother! I just like the idea of like Hades being like, "I have your brother Percy." He's just like, "Well."
Time to go to town. Just Glacks the guy.
Fucking John Wick music starts playing.
Oh my God. Anyway, sorry, Matt. The image of Percy Glackson with a Glock kills me.
Yeah. But no,
Percy Glackson novels, great, by the way.
They are. But no, so that is also when I got invited to play because a bunch of my friends were in a game, and one of them got me actually into. He gave me like all the audiobooks for the Percy Glackson like novels, and I listened to them. I'm like, oh, this is pretty neat. And I'm like, all right, so this game, it's like Percy Glackson but edgier. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, I can get into this. And so they helped me make a character, and I had no idea what the fuck I was doing because they didn't explain anything to me. And they're like, all right, what do you want? And I'm like, I don't know, what am I, like 14, 15? edgy. I want to be a samurai, but he's like the son of Hades, and Hades gave him a katana. And it's like, why?
Matt, I hate everything you just said.
Yeah,
Hey,
get the fuck out.
I love everything he just said. This is amazing.
so bad.
This is pure teenage weeb cringe.
Yep.
So, I'm trying to contain the laughter so I can come in and talk. But what the fuck, dude?
It was very
I
bad.
just loved it. Again, this is Hades being like, son, I understand that you seek power. I just so happen to have this fucking katana.
Aw, yeah, Naruto music starts blasting.
Hey Matt, when did
So
you play DMC?
Oh my god.
Oh, not for a very long time after
Yeah,
that.
Matt made Virgil. Matt just made
did.
Virgil.
You really
Son
did
of Hades.
just make Virgil, dude.
Oh, did I? Oh, shit, I don't even play
Yeah,
Devil May
no, you
Cry.
basically did.
Fuck.
Oh my god, that's amazing. Please continue.
But yeah, so I did that, and also, actually, so because of that, I was into, at the time, Naruto and Percy Glackson, so I'm like, I'll just fuse the two together. Perfect.
Stop. Please
Yep.
stop. Oh my god.
Love it.
So the session was like literally I showed up, introduced myself. I don't remember what the other players like what their deals was. All I know is the DM and one of the players were really close friends and basically focused this entire session around that one player. And we fought like some kind of like hybrid panther creature and it one-shot me. Like literally one-shot me, I died, and that's it. And I'm like, oh, okay. Can I do anything? He's like, nope. And then the other player was the highlight of the whole thing. Pulled out his super guns or whatever, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna take my, I don't know, insert god here, damage bolt gun and blast the panther creature and murder it, and oh yeah, super cool. And I'm gonna take its skull and make it into armor or something. I don't remember any
What the fuck
context
are you
because
talking about?
So
Yeah,
anyway,
I
I
have no
started
sense
to
of
lag.
Intently, and I just lost the plot. I'm so confused.
Yeah. What?
welcome to my world.
Okay, wait.
And-
So could you take
Yeah.
that from the top? Just that last little bit after you get
That
mauled
last
by a
chunk.
panther.
Yeah, so literally first our combat, which I was never explained to how combat worked, by the way. I pulled up my sword, I slashed the monster. I didn't do any damage.
Matt, were you even given the rule book at all?
I was like, hey Matt, we're gonna make you a character sheet. Here you go.
What? You weren't given the rule book?
What the fuck?
Not till after. No. I actually have the PDF here.
What the hell?
That's amazing. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
So I attacked the panther thing, and then it literally fucking one-shot me. And the DM described, oh, it smacks you into the side of your tree. All your limbs are broken and you can't move. I'm like, oh, okay. Then I'm gonna just call this player Superstar shows up, annihilates the panther in like one turn. And then meanwhile, I'm just sitting here dying in a corner, slumped over a tree. And I'm like, guys, hello, anyone? Meanwhile, they're like, yeah, I wish to harvest the panther and make some, I don't know, sick gauntlets or some shit out of its skull. I don't remember. It was, after that,
I have so many questions.
Oh my God. So many
But
questions.
also, this just reaffirms my belief in I must teach myself the rules on everything, because if the DM doesn't teach me while I'm playing, that's on me. Because, I don't know, DMs are people too. They shouldn't have to teach you things.
I'm not gonna lie.
Like-
It's so gangster that they were like, you don't need the rules. It'll be fine.
I
Like,
just the
what the
idea.
fuck?
Well, no. Like also the fact that they give you the rules after you got
you
your
die,
ass
yeah.
kicked.
Yeah, after you die.
Right.
Like, what the fuck?
Well,
So hold on. Oh my god, I can't. Hold on. You know what? Just continue. Fuck it.
okay, so thinking about it now, like as an adult, and I'm like, okay, I think I joined in midway through their campaign. I'm assuming because they all had a stab. Like it was like 3 or 4.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, 3 or 4 other people than the DM, and then I just hopped in, and then I just got fucking annihilated. So there's that, and then thinking about it, it's like afterwards I was really invested. I'm like, oh, even though I got destroyed, and I was like, I didn't like the session, but maybe I can play it with like people and find other people and maybe actually run the game and actually be able to play instead of being like a broken mess in the corner of the room.
Okay, hold on. Wait, I need to. Okay. Did you play? You played one session?
Yes.
That was it?
I played one session and then attempted to start up another session with my buddy Joe, who I will get back to because he is how I got into D&D.
Integral?
Yeah. And then another friend. And we tried getting, just the three of us, tried getting a game together. But the problem is none of us wanted to DM.
Okay, hold. So you played one session in the Scion campaign, and then did you leave because you were like, I'm out, this is stupid? Or did they kick you out? Like, how did that resolve?
It was a mix of, I didn't like the fact that I literally just showed up and died, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess this is the game. But I liked
Understandable.
the idea. Yeah, but I liked the idea of the game, and I wanted to keep playing it. But then I guess their campaign fell through, or they tried doing like an online game in some forum website, I don't remember, and that fucking fell through. So it was a real big mess.
Okay, so you played one session, and then it fell apart. They didn't give you the rules, so you had no fucking clue basically what was going on. And so that was just sort of the end of that. Like, it was that one weird ass session, and then you just like peace.
Well, I
peace
didn't,
out.
Not peace out, because like
Kind
I
of,
still
not
wanted
really.
to. Yeah, I still
wanted to play, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, it never happened, because when I tried setting up a game with Joe and the other friend, we wanted to play, but none of us wanted to DM. So by the end of it, we were just like, all right, well, if none of us are going to DM, then I guess just whatever. And eventually, like, time went on, we forgot. So
Okay.
yeah, that was my introduction to tabletop in general. Like,
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My brain is a fuck right now. So first I must say, Scion as the first game you get into, what a choice. What a weird introduction. Because like most people come into tabletop assuming it's all D&D high fantasy type shit, right? So like, what a weird one that you came in on Scion.
yeah,
But then
it wasn't even
like sorry, I'm like trying to finish the sentence in my head as I'm talking because it's crazy. That also just sounded like your supervillain origin story. Like,
Jesus. and then I will be a DM and I will ruin other people's time.
Yeah,
I feel
basically.
I feel like it's also the origin of why he never plays any like serious characters and why they're all goofballs, because
Oh my
Good
god.
point.
Oh my, did we just solve
Wait,
the Da Vinci
Sam,
Code of Matt's
Don't
character
psychoanalyze
builds?
me.
Sam, you just cracked the code.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god. Yeah. So
You're not my
that-
therapist.
Oh my, that's amazing, actually. Yeah. So just to give context to anyone listening, Matt's characters are always some fucking clownery. Like, he plays them semi-seriously, but the concept is always ridiculous. So like in our current game, which is on hiatus at the moment, but hopefully we'll be getting back to soon, Matt is playing a beast barbarian lowly vampire girl.
Don't
Who's
shame me,
like-
internet.
Who's like a noble of a vampire house, right? Right? Something like that. Yeah.
Noble.
definitely wasn't inspired by Dio, by the way, with the
Definitely not. Definitely original
30-something
character.
daggers
No,
under her
it's
skirt.
only, it's only Dio and Rachel Alucard and what's her name from Dancing the Vampire Bund and like every other vampire lol ever. It's fine.
For basically anyone who knows Blaze Blue, Matt's playing Rachel Alucard from Blaze Blue.
I like how you bring up that, but not like the wackiest character, which was the literal like, what if I took that one character from the Princess
I know.
Bride, but a cat?
Oh, yes. So Matt's Descent into Avernus, that's true. We got to talk about Matingo because Matingo's amazing. So Matt's Descent into Avernus character was just, I'm going to make Iago Montoya from the
Inigo.
Princess Bride at Iago?
Inigo.
Inigo.
Montoya.
Inigo. Thank you.
Inigo
I've never seen
Montoya.
Princess Bride. Sorry.
Excuse me?
Um,
Or
how
we're
dare
gonna
you.
rectify it.
Whatever. Anyway, he's like, I'm just gonna play the dude from the Princess Bride, but as a tabaxi man, he's a paladin swashbuckler rogue, and his father was killed by a demon in hell, or a devil, so he just wants to go into hell to kill his father's killer.
Hey Matt, can you explain to me the
yeah.
naming convention for this character and other characters you have made recently?
Oh,
Oh,
Yes.
No. Oh,
yes,
so if
please
they're not,
do.
If they're not like what Airden or like
Yeah,
Adrian.
they're not Adrian.
Yeah. So normally when I try to come up with like, a character, I'll usually just take a name and just put an M in the beginning because, my name is Matt. So I'm like, all right, so I'll just do that. So Matingo, Aningo, Matoya. Yeah, it's all good. All makes sense.
Yeah, and then another game, he played a one-shot where he basically played an Aragon knockoff from the Inheritance Cycle books and/or the Aragon books.
Ah, yes.
And he named him Maragon. He was the Drake Warden Ranger.
Yeah, what a fun class.
But yeah, Matingo was great, and also it just became a running gag that Matingo was low-key like a Pokemon and just shouted his name when he went into battle, so just Matingo all the time.
I take pride for that.
So that was fun. It was a good goof that we kept rolling just the entire campaign. Descent into Avernus, that was the time.
We had a great time, even though the campaign
It was a good time.
Something.
Yeah, the adventure is a little all over the place, but we had fun playing it. That's also where our weird reverence for Joe Manganiello came from.
Joe Manganiello and Redbone? Question mark?
Let's not.
And Redbone.
Let's not spend another 30 minutes talking about this for the third time.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We don't need to right now. I'm sure it'll come back up again.
I'm already pulling up his Twitter.
I feel like I have to bring up Redbone specifically because of how just completely left field that joke came in. So for quick context, I'll tell this story super quick. So it's just precious to me. We got a demon grinder from Mad Maggie. Spoilers. Fuck it. You can get a vehicle to drive around because Hell's got cars and motorcycles and whatnot. And every time we would go on like a longer trip through Avernus, because distance is sort of like incorporeal there. Like things, it could take like 2 hours. It could take forever. It's kind of like the warp in Warhammer. So the running joke is, what mixtape are we playing today? And at one point, Matt just goes, I don't know, Redbone? And I shit you not, we got a chuckle out of it at first. It was like a, nice, this is pretty good. And then we just hear the, because of course Sam had to just put it over one of the music bots, and we just started to die.
And then it was canon that all our characters were just vibing to Redbone.
My
In
lawful
hell.
evil
In hell.
tiefling agent of Dispater was like, what the hell is okay.
And me and Isaiah's character, who just had like a weird like hate-love rivalry, like Trevor and Alucard in Castlevania, just started like vibing together to Redbone.
That and our mutual love of coffee, but disdain for one another.
Yeah. It was that campaign went some places.
Certainly did.
How did we even get here? Oh, I'm talking about Matt's character. Right, why Matt makes goof characters. Yes.
No. We ignore that.
welcome.
Or ignore psychoanalyzing.
Again.
Stop that.
No.
Jesus. So, Matt.
Yeah.
So you played Scion, kind of, not really, I guess.
Kind of. Once.
And then, much like me and Sam, you it was a short stint that died out. So where did you return after your supervillain backstory?
So it's kind of weird saying this now because you wouldn't think about it, but like, I'll say like maybe 5 years ago, there was that whole there was still that stigma of I'm a nerd, but I don't play D&D. That's too nerdy. And that didn't really go away until I would say honestly until like the Critical Role boom and streamer boom, and now D&D is like more popular than it's ever been. But like again, not even like 5 years ago, D&D was too nerdy. It was still too nerdy.
Hey, Matt, 5 years ago, I used D&D to hit on a lady, so
Hey.
I have literally
mutual love for D&D.
I have literally always
actually
been
she talked to me first.
just kind of nerdy. Just saying.
That's true. Sam has, I have too, honestly. TBH.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we're friends, is it not?
I mean, yes, basically.
What's that? Social groups based off of particular hobbies in high school because you're bullied relentlessly if you aren't part of that group?
Yeah.
Crazy. Who could have guessed? God.
Do you
Children
remember
are
that? By the...
ruthless.
Yes, correct. Do you remember that, by the way, Isaiah? Being in the art studio and me talking to said female in question about D&D.
Yeah. Oh, great! I just realized that my mute for OBS and Discord got desynced at some point.
Hell yeah, brother! I'm not the only one.
I mean, so like I haven't really been saying anything. I think I told my cat to fuck off once because she was brushing up against the mic. But yes, I do remember the female in question. Yeah.
I don't want to name drop people.
No. I know. I
not.
get yes, and I was dealing with said feline, so I did unfortunately miss like a little bit of that. So
Not important. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Right.
Okay, so Matt, you were like, nah, D&D too nerdy.
Right. And
So what broke the barrier?
honestly, it was even though I didn't play D&D, I started watching on YouTube because they started posting the videos of Acquisitions Incorporated, which I guess for people who don't know, Acquisitions Incorporated is a podcast / now like very well-known D&D stream games run associated with Wizards of the Coast and Penny Arcade, who are the guys that do PAX and everything. And so every year, it used to be yearly, and now it's like every 4 months because of all the PAX. They would gather around, they'd play D&D, and it was focused on whatever the adventure was that just came out. So like they did an adventure in Out of the Abyss, and an adventure about like I think Tyranny of Dragons and Storm King's Thunder, and it was a podcast / video thing that came out in between the transitioning from 4th edition to 5e. And so I was watching it and I was enjoying it, and I'm like, oh, okay, so this is D&D. I'm like, it's more funny and like it's like way more interesting than I thought it'd be. And then I guess a few years later from that, Critical Role started up, and my buddy Joe, who I played Scion with, because of Critical Role, got into D&D and started playing it more. And then eventually kind of was like, oh, do you want to play? I'm running a campaign. I really want players and I would like you to play. And I was still very hesitant because of that stigma. But I'm like, well, if those like people from Acquisitions Incorporated like play and they all have fun. And this was also before I even knew, like, I didn't know Chris Perkins was the head like guy for Wizards of the Coast. Like,
you didn't know he was the dude.
No, I just was like, man, I really love this bald man with the cat. He's
like this
funny.
Chris guy.
Yeah, he's great. I love this dude. I love all the players. This is great. And then it's like, oh, he's Chris Perkins, like the lead lore guy, the writer of like everything D&D. And I'm like, well then. So, and then after like Joe invited me into his game, I made like the most basic bitch rogue, because I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I didn't really know. Like, he at least taught me how to play, at least, and make a character. But like, I didn't really know the game, so I just made your average like human variant rogue thief, and all I did was pickpocket people and get my ass kicked.
Classics. You can't beat the classics.
You can't.
But I had fun with it, and it was, it was honestly really like a great like experience.
Well,
so basically, similar to me, you watched an actual play and saw how the hobby is supposed to be done, and saw it actually being fun and played correctly, and we're like, well, now I gotta do it.
Right.
Which makes sense. Were you gonna say? Sorry, were you gonna say something?
I have several things to say. One, Matt, I'm glad you're happy with the hobby, because I don't think any of our campaigns would be the same without you. We'd have we'd have memory, but like
not the same kind.
Not the same kind.
No, I'm gonna concur with Sam. There's like a certain, I don't even know what to call it, because it's every single time I feel like, okay, we're gonna start a new campaign. Like I can assume the where Sam is gonna go. I can sort of maybe guess where Josh is gonna go with their character ideas, but I'm so honest when I say that every time I'm like, I cannot fucking wait to see what Matt pulls out this time. It's gonna be amazing.
Wait till the ooze people come out. It's gonna
Oh
be
my
great.
God.
Oh, baby. I don't know if I'm ready.
So excited.
Hey, Josh, remember the last time we played with a slime character?
No. Oh,
No?
yeah. Yeah.
Oh no.
No, so that was our Stars Without Number campaign.
Souls of Steel, not Stars Without Number.
Oh, that's right. Souls of Steel was a slime person. Stars Without Number was Space
Shapeshifter.
Nebula person. Yeah, I've dealt with the amorphous character thing a few times. It's yeah, it's
Wait,
choice.
I'm sorry.
It's,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
uh,
cut you off. Souls of Steel, the mecha anime TTRPG, has a slime person race.
Yes. So it has a race that is literally just, or it has a playbook that is like the alien or the other or something like that, and it's basically like insert whatever sci-fi alien thing you want. So my I don't remember if we were dating at the time or not, ex-girlfriend, whatever. She was like, I want to play a weird slime alien person who turns herself to look like a normal human being, but acts like a weird, emotionless weirdo. And I was like, okay, depending on what you do with that, that could be interesting. But she basically didn't do anything with it. She just acted like nothing. So it wasn't the best execution of the idea.
I think the issue, honestly, with her being a slime person there was the fact that we were playing a mecha TTRPG and not a character-focused TTRPG. Because, like, she did do some of the interesting slime stuff with the mech, because that was her mech's, like, special ability, because we all had, like, one special thing, because that's just how
the
game
mechs
works.
have, like, special add-on things.
But, like, yeah, she herself as the character didn't do anything super interesting. But anyways, I still have more things to say to Matt.
Yeah, break it down.
Oh God, Matt, I can't imagine you not being a gigantic nerd. I literally
Very
cannot.
true. Very true.
We have so many stupid conversations that are definitely things that would get us bullied or back in school.
I mean, the funny thing is, if Matt wasn't a nerd, he would have just been a weird metalhead, I guess. So,
I mean,
you know. So now he's kind of both. Yeah.
Well, see, the thing is that a lot of metalheads just tend to be giant nerds as well. It's like kind of a thing that goes hand in hand. My mom was a giant metalhead, and she's also a giant nerd. So kind of coincides.
Nice. But yeah, and yeah, ever since, I've always been now I've DM'd a game after 3.5 years DMing a campaign from low level to level 20.
Yeah,
God, that was working.
Matt,
Now I'm taking a big break from DMing for a while.
Matt did
besides
the
one-shots.
impossible. He actually did a 1 to 20 campain. He did it,
He
boys.
beat D&D, everyone.
Whatever. Yeah, he beat
I did.
D&D. He won.
I
Never
did.
has to play
I
again.
did it. Eat your heart out, Jeremy Crawford.
Ooh, got him. Honestly, Matt, I'm after that Scion experience, I am kind of shocked you didn't just say fuck this shit altogether, because that is so bad.
Well, remember, showing my age a little bit. I'm old. My high school, I'm a wee bit older than you guys, so
yeah, Matt's the oldest among us.
But I do like the fact that, like, freshman or sophomore year of college for me, because I after high school and after my first college experience, I took like a long break to work and save money and stuff. Then went back to school, and that's when I got back into tabletop and then met you guys and all that jazz.
Yeah, I assume that game with your friend Joe though went well and was like a proper experience.
Yes and no.
Kind of, a little bit.
Kind of. It was
Better?
all of us. So it was a lot of new people to the game, which was nice. But then it was also a lot of new people to Discord, a lot of new people to Roll20. So a lot of people didn't really know what they were doing. And then I guess one of the other big things that didn't really filter out until maybe after the third or fourth session is that we didn't realize the age gap between a lot of the players until some of us who are older talked to Joe and were like, hey, so me, this guy, and this guy are in our 20s, and you, like, because with Roll20, anyone can just join in to a game if you allow them.
Yeah.
He didn't realize that two of the players were like one of them was 13.
Oh.
So we had kids playing, and we were like, this is not gonna lie, man, this is just a bit sketch. We should probably.
Yeah, that's a little weird. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I don't want to bring it up, but then we had an issue with one of those kids doing the big R to another player, and we had to really put a halt on that and be like, all right, nope.
What? Doing the what?
Hard R.
The hard R.
Oh, you mean
to another player character.
Oh. Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And yet you somehow still stuck with it?
I wasn't there that session. I found out about it, and
fair enough.
And I basically had to kind of like, I talked to Joe, and it was something that like, it was not out of his control. He didn't have control of the situation because he was so shocked that it happened that he just did the whole like, all right, we're just gonna move on and pretend it didn't happen like type of deal. And afterwards, I kind of was like, all right, dude, like, we need to set some ground rules with like everybody in the game, and we need to kick that guy out. Like, I don't care, he's 13. Like, that's messed up.
Jesus Lord.
Yeah, I mean, like, I
Damn.
don't know, because like, all right, I share a little bit about myself. I used to be part of a raid team in Final Fantasy XIV, and a lot of the members were like pretty harshly racist. Never got any hard R's, but like, it was definitely uncomfortable. And I was there to play with friends, because two of the people in this raid team were friends of mine, and I hang out with them still. And they're not like, they were not the problem. It is sometimes hard to get away from these people in general because you feel obligated. So like, you kicking him out immediately, but trying to at least, and everybody else not really knowing how to react to that, I fully understand. Because
yeah, I can't totally blame him.
Sometimes you can't, like, you don't know how to deal with that situation, especially because when people are ignorant to their flaws, they tend to feel like they're being attacked rather than approached when you try to talk about these things with them. So like, I fully understand like where this complete and utter not destruction, but like just shock comes from.
Yeah, that's a time. You are a resilient individual, Matt, to stick with things.
I've been in a similar situation of words being thrown around, and yeah, it's definitely uncomfortable, but I think there's like this fear of like, well, like it's not affecting me personally, so I don't feel like I have the right to bring this up, but I also really don't want to be here right now, but I also want to hang out with my friends. So like, yeah, it's a really sticky situation with, admittedly, you know, a simple solution, either calling someone out or leaving, but it's not actually that simple in practice.
Right. It's never, everyone will say online, just leave the campaign. And you can, but it's never an easy decision.
Right. Like, after it happened, we talked, like, first of all, we told the kid why we were kicking him out, but we also kind of like told him like, hey, you can't do like, that's not, you know, what you did was not right. You know, in like, if you said that to anybody else in any situation, like, that would be really bad. And we kind of like, we didn't like beat him over the head with like, oh, you did something wrong, bad, like, but we're like, hey man, like, you know, we get it, you're a kid, but still 13, like, this is really wrong. Like, you should not be going around and doing that to another character, or saying that to another person, or like threatening that you're going to do that to another person in general. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, that's one of my big rules when it comes to like tabletop games, is like, because of that incident, I'm like, all right, no mentions of like sexual assault or any of that stuff. Like, no, we're just a hard hard
The
line.
usual ground rules.
Yeah, the usual. Yeah, again, stuff that you would think is common sense in tabletop, but apparently not.
I just want to say I'm an idiot. So my brain went the saying words that you shouldn't say to other people route, and not the doing things you shouldn't do to other people route.
I didn't want to. Yeah, I realized I didn't want to like interrupt you.
No,
but
I mean,
yeah, no, it was when I say hard R, I mean the
yes,
big
yes.
R-A-P-E.
Yes.
Oh.
I mean,
Yeah, it was.
the argument goes
my brain
to both
also.
places, so like,
I mean, it
Yeah.
does go to both places,
Yeah.
but I guess that does slightly. I guess doesn't really shift the context. Anyway, I do a question though, Matt. So what was the first game that went well?
So
I guess
that was like the second or third game because like I had to miss a couple of sessions. But like the first game, it was, stereotypical. We went into a tavern. We met up. Some guy hired us to go clear out some goblins. We killed the goblins. And then a wizard showed up and was like, hey, you guys killed all these goblins. Great job. You want to help me do wizardly things? And we're like, does it pay? And the wizard was like, maybe. And we're like, maybe could be anything. Even money. So we just went with it, and then that's how the adventure started. It was a homebrew game, so no one had anything to deal with what was going on.
Right. But I meant, what was it? Sorry, not necessarily session, but like, what was the first campaign where things actually flowed well, and you were like, this is what the hobby can be. You know what I mean?
My campaign.
The one you ran? Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
that's kind of where my brain was at.
Yeah, because
I was just curious.
Because with that game, and not to like Joe's like detriment, but we had like a lot of people coming and going, a lot of stuff changing, a lot of no-shows, and it was mostly just like the big thing of why like D&D games or any tabletop games get canceled off the back. Haha.
Yeah, I mean,
it's always scheduling.
Yeah, I mean, nothing you can do about that kind of shit, right? It's the reason you might say sessions get canceled.
hey,
Oh,
roll credits.
Hey!
Everybody drink.
Everybody don't take a shot.
Don't do this.
Take a shot, but only take a shot if you are of age. I'm not encouraging.
No, don't take.
No
don't-
children
don't-
taking shots.
Worry not, fans.
don't
I'll
do that for
take
us.
the shots for us.
Isaiah's ready to go.
Always.
But
Okay.
Yeah.
Closing points, Matt. Go ahead, finish.
Yeah. Oh man, I just had something. So yeah, closing points was basically with the scheduling issue, and then because of the scheduling issue, and then Joe had like work and stuff, he ended up saying like, "Hey guys, unfortunately my campaign is going to be put on a big permanent hiatus deal, and I didn't want my new gaming group, my new hobby I just found to die." I'm like, I'll run a game, I'll do it. And then I was like, wait, shit, how do I run a game? Oh no. And so
How most DMs are born.
Yeah. So I literally just picked it up, binge watched, because this was also around the time that Critical Role just ended, like the first campaign. And my YouTube recommended feed was the Matt Colville video talking about it. And that video like boomed on YouTube.
I remember watching that video when it came out.
I watched it, and then I was like, I like this other Matt fellow. I'm like, I'm gonna watch his video.
So let me get my timelines right. You really got into D&D like after campaign 1 ended?
Yeah.
Weird.
Like we played during it, but I never watched it. And I think I only played for like Joe's campaign only lasted, I think, like 6 months.
Yeah, so the video Matt's talking about, Isaiah, is Matt Colville. Matt Colville, by the way, YouTuber and business runner extraordinaire, I guess. I don't know. Runs a company called MCDM, makes products for 5e, also does a lot of YouTube
so
stuff.
I know the video you're talking about. I've seen it. It's a great video.
Yeah. So he made a video talking about a thing that happened at the end of the first campaign of Critical Role, which sort of showcase the magic, if you will, of what the hobby can like potentially be when all the stars align and everything falls together. So it's a good video to sort of be it's a good video as an example of like how deep the hobby can go sometimes, I guess, is the easiest way to put it.
Well, his videos are basically like, I tell any new DM around, I'm like, just watch his videos, any of them, doesn't matter. You don't have to watch them in order.
Yeah.
Just pick one. They're gold mines. It's better than reading. Like, have 99.9% of his videos are probably better than like the stuff in the DMG, because they're more helpful
absolutely.
and practical.
100%.
So,
100%.
and he was basically, if it wasn't for Matt Colville, like, I would probably not be as good as a DM as I was, and like picking up the hobby as like DMing as fast as I did.
The DMG was written by an alien. I'm convinced of this. It's just so not.
There's good stuff in there, but not.
Yes, but it's like little nuggets.
Nuggets.
It's like you're finding pearls in a sand made of garbage. In a beach made of garbage. Jesus Christ, I can't talk.
A sandy
Fucking
beach of garbage.
A sandy beach of garbage. Yeah, whatever. Point being, yeah, that's quite the time. So I guess now we do the transition to Isaiah, who the reason we save for last is because he had the wildest time getting into the hobby of us. Like, me and Sam had the pretty standard, like, kind of vanilla opener. Matt had some weirdness. Isaiah was like thrown into the lion's den and then somehow fought his way out and was like, I think I'll jump back in. Why not? For some goddamn reason. It still shocks me to this day, Isaiah, that you stuck with tabletop at all, to be honest. Shocks me.
So, yeah, it's.
I need to start from the very beginning. Fucking square one.
That if we're gonna talk about the very, very beginning, when I was younger, I come from a lower income household, and I often didn't have video games to play. Like, basically any game that I played after the age of like 12, I had to buy myself, which basically meant like 3 or 4 games a year if, you know, my grandmother had the money to buy me something for my GameCube for like Easter. So
yeah, keep in mind this is prior to indie games and games of different pricing models.
What I did,
no free to play.
What I did have though was a bunch of toys and unlimited time because I had no friends growing up. So I often just made my own games up.
Yo, same though.
And
same. Literally same. I did it because I was an only child though.
For them, and I would have my parents play them, and I'd cheat to hell and back because of course it's my game. I'm gonna win. Fuck you. So I think it's always sort of been there, but for some reason the idea of like games like D&D to me, I was like, nah, get that nerd shit out of here. Get out of here, Poindexter. I'll shove you in the locker. But like, it really,
as we all did.
So it really actually started with Stranger Things, of all things, because you know, obviously that whole show is based on D&D, and when you know, episode 1, to those of you who haven't seen Stranger Things, I'm not going to really spoil anything, but like all of the monsters are named after D&D monsters, and they're named incorrectly. I'm never going to let it go. Anyway, the idea of like sitting around at a table and like, you know, fighting, like kind of like playing a turn-based RPG, but more fun, because I don't really like turn-based RPGs, but I really love D&D. So I love it now. So it's like, I kind of want to try this. This sounds really interesting. And I was just starting college for the first time, and I was going to school with Josh and Matt. So I like started asking around. I'm like, what is this D&D thing? Is this cool? Like, am I allowed to like this? Can I do weird shit like this in college and not get roasted for it on a daily basis? And
yes,
the same woman, female, I don't know. The same the femoid. I'm kidding. But don't do that. I know. I'm sorry. No, but the same girl that Josh and I were talking about, I spoke to her about it, just absentmindedly to see what she knew, because, you know, this is what it is. And she was like, "Oh, I watched this thing called Critical Role."
Hold on. I have to ask an important question here. This is of you specifically, Isaiah. Because to give the female in question, very attractive. Did seeing a said attractive female talking about D&D make your brain go, maybe this is acceptable? Was that part of the equation? I'm just curious.
No, because I'm gonna just throw this out here now. I swing for any team who's gonna pay me. So like, I get
the
opposite sex aspect didn't really matter because of like, you know, if someone with some decent sized pecs and some washboard abs was like, hey, you want to play some D&D? I'd be like, yes. But I think it was more that I heard.
What a way to describe that!
So I heard her like absentmindedly talk about it to someone. It might have been you. I'm not really sure. But me having just got through watching Stranger Things was like, oh, is this like cool? Like, what is this about? And she taught me about Critical Role, and she talked about it a bunch. Someone who I had actually met up with, who I went to high school with, when I met up with him in college, he brought it up to me. I was like, okay, well, if I'm getting this from two different sides now, there's got to be something to this, and it just sort of started from there with D&D. And I think that started in about January of my freshman year, and by about March, I had brought it up to some friends brought it up to other friends, and we were looking for a GM, and one person was gonna GM, and then they were talked down from it by the person who did end up GMing. I'm gonna start off by saying, now, bud, if you're listening to this, I love you. You're a homie, but I'm about to go on a rant. Just don't take any of this personally. You're a great dude. I'm sure you're way better as a dungeon master now. So disclaimer over.
Incoming pop off.
I really might. I'm gonna try not to for the life of me, but I might. So he was like, I'll run a game. I have this idea for a world I've been planning for literally years, and some stories that I feel like we could do together. And I was like, yeah, cool. You know, I'll try some stuff. And obviously we didn't have a session 0. I didn't know what session 0 was. So we just we did it, but it wasn't session 0 in the conventional sense. It was more of us like, whenever we had a period free, or we were in the cafeteria, or during that game club that I was co-running, that ended the way it did. We just sort of built our characters then. And I was a bit of a shit, because obviously I was like, well, I don't like any of these characters in the player's handbook, so I'll look for some homebrew. And
Wait, hold on. Can I just say, side note, by the way, in Isaiah's defense, the idea of session 0 being pushed really, really hard is a fairly recent thing that, like, not even literally 4 years ago was not as well known. So it's not entirely your fault that not your fault that you weren't aware of it.
No, it's just kind of like a thing that people people
sort of did, but now it's like real. Now it's literally in a book that D&D published, right? So
basically, like, my first idea for a character, and I'm gonna start by saying this, was not based off Percy DeRollo from Critical Role. More, it was that I had just beaten Bloodborne again for the, I don't know how many times, but I'm really into the idea of like a monster hunter who had like a pistol, or like a pistol and a crossbow was what I wanted to like dual wield them. And
can I you kind of made a combination, for those who have watched Critical Role, I feel like you kind of made a combination of Vax'ildan and Percy.
Yes.
Fusion.
Yeah. It was completely unintentional, because actually, this is funny. I didn't like Vax or Percy really when I first started watching Critical Role. I loved them later on once Taliesin, Jaffe, and Liam O'Brien like really came into their characters. I thought they were fantastic and funny and interesting, and Allison's like one of my personal heroes nowadays. But so I had this idea for this character, and like from step 1 there was pushback. There was like you could totally be a gunslinger, but like you won't start off with your gun. And to me, I was like, no, okay, well, I'll get it eventually, it's whatever. And he was like, so you can't use homebrew classes. And I was like, disappointing, but okay. But he was like, so here's the thing though, you are gonna use a homebrew class. And me being like, but you just said. And his response was, no, I understand. So basically the way this is gonna work is that you can only pick from 4 classes to start. And I think the classes were, I believe they were wizard, rogue, cleric, and
Fighter, I'm assuming, because those are the 4 like main classes of D&D history.
either fighter. Yes, it was a fighter. And basically, you had to sort of prestige class to get the class you wanted to play. So I actually wanted to play a like rogue, but for some reason I couldn't start as a rogue, but the bard had to start as a rogue, and the alchemist, and he got to use a homebrew class, which was strange. There was some inconsistencies going on.
Wasn't all of the like you can't start as this class or that class stuff like basically homebrew worlds nonsense, like because story reasons?
Pretty much. So that all happened.
So I
and we
don't
were all
really
like,
have an issue with that, but it's like,
yeah,
I just there's
It's
ways.
the execution.
There's ways to do this, and forcing your players to do that, and being like, hey, so I'm gonna have inconsistencies here. It's just not. You just don't.
It's not necessarily bad out the box. It's just the execution was lacking.
it was a little rough, but you know, I didn't know that that's not how this usually works, right? Like I much like the opposite of Josh, really. I just assume that the dungeon master basically just tells you everything you can and can't do, and you have to sort of cleverly play around that. No, that's not how that works. And
you thought you had to just like bend over and be
pretty
sad
much,
about it,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. And I was like, well, it's my first game. Maybe it'll be better than I think it'll be. And the other thing that was not really explained to us was the campaign itself, because everyone that I know who was playing was sort of expecting a like high fantasy game, and to the GM's credit, he talked about like there would be some like dark themes to the game, but what he meant was it is grimdark Warhammer fantasy, but like less comedy. It's mostly grimdark.
Didn't he want to do like weird Warhammer plus Dark Souls plus Darkest Dungeon?
Yes, that was literally that was
his
the
words?
sales pitch after the game had been going on for a few weeks. We were like, this is really, really depressing. Like, what is going on right now? So after all of that, you know, I was a little frustrated, but I was like, oh, let's keep going. I'm sure it'll get better. And it didn't really. Like we had some problems with players, also, you know, not showing up or not cooperating well. Like I had a player who would constantly threaten other players with violence and all of this other nonsense if we didn't like respect his authority, which
that's
I was
fun.
playing a light domain cleric at the time, and this character had like a specific vulnerability to fire damage. So every time he mouthed off, I literally was like, I would text our editor Brett, who was also playing, and be like, am I allowed to fight him? Is this a thing I can do? Like, could I?
Side note, well, 2 side notes. One, keep in mind, he said he's playing a light domain cleric when he wanted to play a gunslinger.
Yes, I wanted to play a gunslinger
also,
essentially, but not like again, it wasn't like a gunslinger like the like. I didn't want to use like grit points.
Not the critical role
What
one
I wanted to,
yeah.
honestly, what I should have, what I know now is I probably would have gone down Monster Slayer Ranger is probably what I wanted in my head. Because I wanted some sword, I wanted some range, I wanted some spell. I just didn't know how I wanted to do that.
You wanted Ranger, but with gun instead of bow. Also, Brett, just edit yourself in here and say hi. Just knock yourself out.
Hello. Just
continue.
God, I'm trying to keep all the details together because I'm really trying to stay focused, but my ADHD is like, no, you want to freak out. So the game after that continued for like 4 months, and it was rough. It was really rough. Like, we were getting treated like shit by literally everybody, for like our characters' races or our ethnicities, because there was like real countries in that setting. My character was like the equivalent of Italian, and that never ended well. And then one day the GM was like, "Hey, so do you think your character would have siblings?" And I was like, "Well, no, I didn't write that. Like, he's got a mom and dad. He's an only kid. That's kind of why he's a spoiled rat." Side note, GM also was like, "People from your country are super racist, so that's your character." I don't like this idea because I don't really like the idea of racism, but sure, I guess. And
forced racism.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I did my best at the time. Like, my character was like kind of racist to the orc, but like literally the orc saved me session 4, and I was like, maybe you're not so bad. I like you. You're pretty cool. So yeah, he was like, "Well, what if he had a brother?" And I was like, "Well, I wouldn't like that because I didn't write that. I didn't write that in my story. I wouldn't be happy with that surprise because it's specifically goes against what I sort of had in mind for this character." And he was like, "Okay, it's fine." And I was like, "That's."
But what if I did it anyway?
Well, yeah, that's what happened, because I was like,
imagine
that was a
having
weird thing that he asked me,
agency.
and then not a week later, we get saved by these weird like goblinoid things, like these little bat goblin things, and this guy's like, "Oh, I'm like this," and he said my character's last name, and I was like, "Oh, he's like another member of our clan," and he was like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, he's like, what did he said? Like, state your name and your like your name and the name of your father or something like that. Some like you state your name and title. And I was like, "Oh, I'm this character. This is my character's father." And he's like, "Oh, that's strange." And I was like, "Well, why?" And he goes, "'Cause that's my dad. You're my brother, I think." And it was that thing where it was such a shock to me that I was like, "You betrayed me, sir. How could you do this?" And I talked to him about it after, and he's like, "Well, I thought it'd be interesting." And I was like, Holmes.
I thought it'd be interesting to just fucking ignore everything you said and do whatever the fuck I
just
want.
ignore
basically.
character agency. Just
No,
you don't,
in this
you don't
case,
get that
ignore
anymore.
player agency too. Just completely fucked off.
And then there were some other things like I'll say this now, homie, if you're listening to this ever, we cheated so much during your game. Like, I think
I was wondering if you were gonna bring that up.
Like I remember there was one, and I remember
fuck.
this, and it's bad that I remember the number exactly because I counted. In one session, we fought like 58 enemies, and not minions. Like, we fought giant spiders, and we fought imps, and we fought bandits, and we fought just so many things. And I must have cast Guiding Bolt like 6 times. I cast Fireball like 5 times. Shield of Faith I must have cast like 3 times. The shield spell, God, I don't even want to know. I don't even think that was on my spell list, and I cast that a few times. And that was all of us, because we just it was a matter of like, as unknowledgeable as I was like, there's no chance. Like, we have no, these guys do like 12 damage to us per turn. We've got 20 HP max, and we just fought 30 of these guys. I don't really know what we're supposed to. Are we supposed to die? Is it like, is D&D just like, do you lose your characters a bunch? That's not really how Critical Role did it. And like, yeah, that
I mean, back in the day, different discussion.
Yes, back in the day, different discussion. And I admittedly am guilty of the Mercer Effect. I have been like, he does it this way. And looking back, it's kind of fucking cringe, bro. But like, there was something to that argument of like, why are we constantly getting shit on? Why are we constantly almost dying? Why are we constantly not getting any credit for us being cool super like heroes? And like, we tried. We didn't kill people we didn't have to kill. We let people live. We told them to run. We tied people up, and we were still like just getting treated like the worst of the worst.
Can I just say, small side note, absolutely gonna have to talk about the Mercer Effect at some point, because, ooh, buddy,
yes,
what a time that whole fucking thing is. Also, though, in your defense,
it's kind of understandable because that was the one touchstone you had at the time and you didn't have any other good examples. So like kind of the Mercer Effect, but also kind of just being like, well, I've seen this done a different way that seemed more fun. Why are we doing it this way? Kind of like, it's not, you know, it's not exactly the same scenario.
This campaign, that basically like, that was probably when it was at its lowest point, because, you know, it had some low lows, but like, you know, the GM did learn over time, and there was some setbacks to that for sure. But we had a lot of fun. Our characters really grew to care about each other, and I finally got that like found family vibe that I had seen watching, you know, TTRPGs. And unfortunately for that game, it ended very badly. It ended with, long story short, we had saved a town from an army of werewolves and like a super werewolf, and there's plenty to talk about that, because it was an event that was supposed to be downtime that we had assumed was going to take like 3 or 4 sessions, and then ended up taking 3 or 4 months. This is into our 3rd year of playing this game. We started
3 or 4 IRL months.
Yes. 3 or 4 IRL months.
Real life.
In a game that had been going on for 3 or 4 IRL years. We were going on our 4th real life year. And it basically ended up with us saving the day, killing the werewolves, and having like this great moment. And then this character proceeded to act like a 40k Inquisitor and like line us up against the wall and threaten us. And like on one occasion mutilated one of the characters by cutting out their tongue, for him being like, I don't know who you are, I'm not going to tell you like my life story. And then that character proceeded to tell us our life stories, and then threatened us to track down the rest of the werewolves or we'd be killed. Like our characters would just be hanged. And at that point, after years of similar behavior, I sort of snapped and was like, all right, man, you kill me, that's fine, but there's no new character, I'm out. And, you know, when I had said I'm out, what I said was, you know, I'm out of the game. But a part of me was like, I'm out of this hobby. I'm just done, because this ain't it, Chief.
Oh, were you were really at that point?
No, yes. Then. I usually don't get very stressed out. Like, you guys have seen me. I don't usually panic. I usually don't have like, you know, those moments. But I was like wheezing. I was crying because I just was like, this is not. I shouldn't be playing this game to feel bad and to feel like I'm doing this to make the GM happy. And yeah, it was a bad time. And again, like I kind of stress, there's so much in between point A and B in this case. Like there's years of similar behavior and like 2 soft reboots to the campaign with hopes that things would get different, and then they didn't really. Like we eventually dropped the you had to prestige into your class thing. And we had all like reclassed and restatted ourselves, and the game ran so much smoother because it was going from like 4 or 5 hour combats to like an hour and a half. Because obviously when you have and I should explain this a little more, when you prestiged into your new class, you just hit that level that you were at in that class as well, and that happens at level 4. So you go from level 1, 2, 3, get your subclass, level 4, your ASI, into level 1, 2, 3 subclass, and then ASI for another class. So you're effectively a level 8 character. So we were super overpowered like that. And combats got really big, really bulky, hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of hit points, and more cheating, because of course we did.
Yeah, because fatter HP bags, that always makes things more fun, right?
So there was just a lot, and I was not in a good place. And at the same time, I had been playing like with these guys. I'd been playing Curse of Strahd, and I had another friend of mine had run like a Fire Emblem style campaign, which to this day I probably have the fondest memories of as a game, because it was the first time where I was like, this is what it should feel like.
So you said you were at the like, I'm about to say fuck this hobby point. So was the Fire Emblem campaign the like saving grace of LOL JK never mind?
At the time, yeah. So like I had almost said fuck it to TTRPGs like 3 or 4 times. And like I was gonna bow out of that original game, and then my other friend, who we're gonna just call, I don't know, we're gonna call him at the moment. He was like, "Hey, I want to run my own game," because I was
why not just say friend A and friend C?
I was
Gary.
because I was gonna call him by his like, because he's a streamer for anybody who listens, but he goes by LP, so I'm just gonna call him that. So LP was like, "Hey, I was gonna originally GM, and I still want to do that. So do you want to play in my game? And it's gonna be based off Fire Emblem, which is a game that he and I played a lot." I was like, "Sure," and that was the first time I was like, "This is what it should feel like." But it was still super homebrewy, and like I feel like I still wasn't getting the full thing. I'm starting to ramble at this point. Apologies to anybody who's even still listening.
No, it's still an origin story, so you know. Just keep going.
There's a certain amount of rambling required. I rambled.
Yeah. So
You know.
there was a lot of homebrew there, and I was like, well, I still don't feel like I've gotten the full thing. But as fun as that game was, eventually it ended, and I was like, okay, I'm feeling good. I'm still happy to play this game, and then it got lower again. And it stayed real low for a while. I think until Curse of Strahd, if I'm going to be honest, because it was a new party of, the only one I knew there was Josh, and there was 2 people there who our friend, Sam, and another friend of ours.
To give the breakdown on that one was the Curse of Strahd game. Sam wanted to run, and it was me and another friend, and we were like, well, we need at least one more person. And I was like, well, I got this friend Isaiah at school who's usually a pretty solid player and is really good at like learning the rules and stuff like that, because Sam can vouch. Prior friends we had play with us just didn't learn the rules or how to play, or didn't really give a shit,
or didn't show up,
or didn't show up,
or
at
didn't
all.
Tell us that they weren't going to show up until an hour after session.
As much as I appreciate that, I can't really say I didn't contribute to the problem, because at this time, 5e wiki, not D&D 5e wiki, not the one where everyone gets the really bad homebrew from, but there was a separate wiki that's basically what 5e tools is now. If anyone remembers the fucking bright orange background, you'll know what I'm talking about. And the newest thing that came up was this little thing called Mystic, and I was like, this seems interesting.
All right, yeah, but hold on. But even irregardless of you playing the UA Mystic, it was still a situation of, I knew that you were gonna be a better player than we had dealt with prior, and Sam really wanted to like run a proper campaign start to finish. So I was like, let's get Isaiah. So Isaiah came in knowing only me and not knowing Sam and our other friend. So it was sort of a weird like getting used to the situation kind of thing at first.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, I'm glad that like, Curse of Strahd was the experience.
The savior.
Well, I wasn't gonna say savior, but sure.
I mean,
because like, I think every DM has this. We all have a little bit of imposter syndrome, and it's like, are we really good enough to do this? I don't feel like I'm doing well enough. And like, just hearing stuff like that, because like the amount of campaigns that I've run for newer players, and them like not really knowing the rules, and me like trying to help them, and then just having a group of people that knew what they were doing and bounced off of each other really well. It felt really good. So like hearing that this campaign also helped you is touching. Just because like I know we all had a lot of fun doing it, especially when we got later and we were like, all right, this campaign's a little hard, maybe we should add 2 more people.
And then Matt rolled in with definitely not Adrian.
And then totally not Adrian rolled in and made it just that much better. But I mean,
wait, hold on, quick pause. Matt, when you started Strahd with us, you were running your game, but that was it, right?
No. I was also I think at the same time I just joined the Storm King's Thunder game that I'm still playing.
Yeah. Oh yes, the one where you're the lizard wizard.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yep.
no, I don't want to tangent too much away from.
Yeah, I was just curious.
You talking about everything that you've experienced. So continue.
Yes,
Isaiah.
continue. Isaiah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, and I think it's really just gone from there because, right, we finished Curse of Strahd, we got into Blades in the Dark, and that was a completely new experience. Because up until that point, I'd only played 5th edition. And then after what is it? We played, after Blades in the Dark, we played Star Wars TTRPG.
Yeah,
Fantasy Flight Star Wars. And that was great. That was a cool... I really appreciate that story because that was the first time where I could really experience what's the right word for this?
A full character
Yes,
arc.
sort of, not really, but like a character arc where I felt like there wouldn't just be like immediate percussions like that, you know, there would be serious long-term effects. Right, like there was a part, for those of you who care, like there was a part where my character, who's the one Jedi of the group, meets Luke Skywalker, and like I get to train with Luke Skywalker for a little bit. And after that, Luke Skywalker being like, these guys are good to go, send them on missions for us because there's some shit going on and they can like, I can count on them. That was really cool to be like, oh, this is like a really encouraging thing. I'm not wording this well at all.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, to like give the context. This was a Star Wars game I ran. Matt wasn't in this, but Sam and Isaiah were. And yeah, I said there could only be. I made the stipulation. I only want one player to be a Jedi because it was between episode 6 and 7 that I want to do, and I didn't want to have the weird situation of 6, you know, the Jedi Goon Squad running around. So I made the one Jedi stipulation, and then so Isaiah went with it. But yeah, I think what Isaiah is getting at is he set up a character concept. Like, you know, he passed me the set in volleyball, and I gave him the spike that he was looking for, in that it paid off and like had a moment and like went somewhere and didn't just feel like a random, like, if I'm understanding what you're saying, it didn't just feel like a random side, like, footnote. It was like, hey, the thing my character's supposed to do is coming up and relevant and like affecting things.
Yeah, like it wasn't. So I should specify, it wasn't the first time that I'd experienced that, because that was, you know, my character in the Fire Emblem campaign was like a prince, and like his whole thing was him like inheriting the kingdom from his father, and there was payoff there, and he got married with another player's character, but like it never really went past that, right? Like that's where
it was a cool moment.
There was some
but
cool,
it didn't
like the
expand.
Like once my character never, like once he like saved his father, there was really, that's all there was. It didn't feel like a long-term journey. It felt like my arc is over, I can sort of help other characters do their arc. But the cool thing about the Star Wars characters was that like Star Wars doesn't really do quick payoff, right? Like you get the payoff in the 3rd movie, but there's progression through 2 other movies. So like, you know, my character goes from not having a lightsaber and calling himself a Jedi and being super boastful, like, oh, I'm a Jedi, you know, I'm the last Jedi and all this stuff, to getting his first lightsaber, practicing his father's saber style, learning from Sam's character, who was blanking on what they were called.
God, I had it, and then
damn it, I just did the same thing.
Yeah.
No,
I was Plo Koon's race.
Matt, save us. Plo Koon's race.
Them, but like
no.
their version of the Jedi, and like learning to be less of a braggart and more like spiritual. And it just felt like there was like the evolution of the character felt like it could just go on forever.
Keldors. They're called Keldors.
Yeah, it just felt like it could go on as long as I wanted it to, and that was cool. And yeah, and just it's been a long journey for me of very high ups and very high downs. And like, I think I'm right now getting out of another down, because for a while, I told this to you guys, but like, I was just getting tired of the same, of mostly of D&D. Like I said specifically, I'm kind of tired of D&D. I want to try just vastly new systems, which is why like we did the Dungeon World one shot, and I was really excited about Blades and Star Wars and all this stuff. Yeah, so I think that's the end of my rant. I controlled it. I think it was detrimental to the story.
Yeah, could have been
that
much.
I controlled it.
Could have been
but
much
I controlled
worse.
it. And hey, Bud, again, I feel like I'm gonna throw this back up. I'm sure you're a better GM now. I've heard your other players say that they really like your stories, they really like your style, and I'm sure you're killing it now. It just 4 years ago was not the same.
Rough starting.
It was a rough start.
Yeah.
And a rough middle,
start
but
point.
like I've heard that you've definitely pulled it in the home stretch. So, fucking power to you, Holmes.
I mean, hey, look at it this way, right? The fact that you started in a real like not great position, but then tried a couple of other games and other campaigns and other players and so on and so forth, and you're like, oh wait, shit's pretty lit actually when it works out correctly, you know, when everything falls into place. So the moral of the story being there, you know, if you're in a game and you're like, man, I'm really not liking this thing that everyone says is supposed to be fun, I'm not having fun, try other players, try a different system.
Yeah, leave
Shuffle
that
things
table.
up.
You know, yeah,
Leave that
try to run the game yourself.
Move things
which
around.
Is, you know,
Run the game yourself.
You know, a lot of it was Josh being like, stop being a bitch. The more you think about running it, the less you're actually going to run it. And
oh yeah,
it's true.
True.
I think I said I wanted another month, and he was like, no, do one this weekend. And I panicked for about 2 hours, and then I threw together something super quick. And I've basically just been running since then. And that happened last. It was about 2 weeks after COVID hit, actually. So it was like April, like 12th, like the weekend of that week, I think is when I ran my first one shot in the Land of Free.
Right. Yeah. You did the little one shot.
Yeah, I did
us.
one with you, and then I did one with another group, right, like the next week, and my actual players come in.
Plus, you'd be amazed what, speaking to the internet, you'd be amazed what kind of things you can learn about yourself as a player by being on the other side, and how you can change up some habits and things to make even the player side experience a lot better, even though you might not assume that. But the cross learning is strong.
Yes.
The cross pollination.
I've learned that I don't like to shut up when I'm a player. I just talk a lot all the time, constantly. So being a GM is a good sort of self-indulgent time for me to be like, I can talk as much as I want.
It's very true.
But I think it also helped me be more comfortable at playing different characters. Like, a lot of my original characters were like, they're basically bards in every way except for the class. Like the typical, I roll to seduce, you know, like super, like trying to be suave and cool, but like probably being kind of cringe now that I think about it. And I mean, okay, in my defense, I think my characters changed a little bit, like a lot sooner than actually GMing, but like I think since then my characters have vastly improved.
I mean, Django is not that.
True. Django was torture
Django
for
is
me.
fair beyond.
For reference, listeners,
Yes.
one of the characters I'm playing right now is a Warforged armor artificer named Django, who for the first, like, what, we've been playing that game for what?
We're about to hit session 30.
So we've been playing for like 5 months now, 6 months now.
I think more than that, but sure. We'll
It
call
is
that.
way more
Yeah.
than that,
think it's more than
considering
that.
we have missed so many sessions.
True. We've had some scheduling conflicts, but like Django, first of all, he spoke in a very robotic tone of voice and a very deep pitched voice, which you hear my voice right now. I'm very mid to lighter tone. And he barely spoke at all, which was torture for me because I found out that the more I talk, the more I pay attention because I have to come up with something to say that doesn't sound fucking stupid. So
if I remember specifically the pitch you gave on Django was you're like, I want to play like the pods from Nier.
Yes.
That was what you said to me. I want to be a pod character from Nier, and I was like, that's gonna be difficult, but okay.
Yes, and it was painful,
right.
and I'm still like, my character has since like learned, like literally like learned how to be more of a person, but I'll still go back into the pod speak whenever he like is unsure.
Yeah, whenever he's confused. Yeah.
So, yeah, like I never would have done that starting out, or like another big one for me that I learned was like playing with your identity. Like I've yet to play like full female characters, but I played characters who are non-binary. I've played characters who are very manly and muscular, are very submissive and very effeminate, and like a lot of characters who just aren't really into either of those, like Django. So yeah, it's playing evil characters is another big one. Like I would have never played an evil character until Avernus, and I came up to Sam and was like, hey, what if I was like an agent for an archdevil, and I was like his hitman?
How you feel about that?
Yeah, it was funny because you approached me with that, and I was like, hey, what if I told you that I was actually going to approach you about this?
Yeah.
Wait, is that really what happened
Yes.
there?
I
didn't know that.
They in the Avernus book, so there's like the angel's blessings. The archdevils also get a blessing. That's why he could speak every language.
Yes, that I remember.
That was my character had I can't remember what the boon was called, but I could read and speak literally every language. So every time, at the very beginning at least, when a character tried to like say something under their breath in like for the kobold that Josh played, he called him like an asshole in Draconic, and I was like, oh, am I now? And he was like, wait, how do you speak my language? What is going on? And like they just started talking in different languages to be like, do you know this one? And be like, yes. Do you know this one? Yes. Do you know this one? Yes. It was great. I think the suspicion from all characters being like, why do you know this, was so great to me. It was precious.
It was a good secret that we kept through the entirety of the campaign.
Literally the whole campaign. Yeah, we didn't really figure out the origin. Yeah, because we didn't have a chance.
True. And I one thing I thought was really funny about this evil character was like, I made no secret that my character was evil as hell. Like, there was a part where they were like, where he just openly was like, because I'm evil, duh. Like, I'm a bad person. And they were all like, yeah, you know you are.
Yeah, no, that was a good little moment. So Isaiah's character just literally like picks up. So if you don't know, for Avernus, there's these like hell coin things that if you're not, soul coins. If you're not evil, they basically just fucking hurt, and you can only carry as many as your con modifier. And I had no con, so my character Zigzags, the Kobold Bard, tried to pick one up and had a bad time. And then Paz, which was Isaiah's character, the lawful evil tiefling, just scooped that shit up. And Zigzags was like, what the hell? And Paz was like, yeah, because I'm evil. And my literal response was, yeah, no shit. I thought we were all on the same page on that one. Like, it was this weird thing where we were all 100% aware of him being evil, but we were also like, I mean, we have to work with this motherfucker. We can't not, because otherwise we're going to be in deep shit. So here we are.
Yeah, I think it was that, and also like, I'm pretty sure there was one point when he was like, you're the only one who knows where we are, what we're doing here. So like, we can't just ditch you.
Oh yeah,
because for some reason you know everybody who's anybody in hell. And I think you got like a to that in response to that at some point. I don't. Yeah, Pazuzu was his name was Pazuzu, by the way, because of course I have no originality. Actually, his name was dumb, and like the joke was that the character believed that the true name clause that works for devils would work on him, so he has this stupidly long real name and then like this really simple nickname that everyone called him. Yeah, it's a good time.
But yeah.
I don't
know how to close out from here, because now we're rambling into different directions.
I had one final note before.
All right,
like,
hit me. Not literally.
Or, well, I mean, I can. However long it takes me to get there. But like, you know, I think that stepping out of your comfort zone and playing entirely different characters is a good thing. Like currently I'm playing a changeling who is primarily female. I have gone between male and female a few times, but primarily female. But I've also played crazy characters. I've played completely quiet characters. A lot of them have names that start with L. Do not hate me for that.
Yeah, we got a weird running gag about Sam with L characters.
I think I literally had a picture of like L from Death Note's L as a character's token art at one point, which was that's kind of where that gag comes from. I think his name was literally L. Anyways, so like, you know, I think if you take anything from this, D&D is a great game. Tabletop games are great, and they allow you
They're a good time.
They allow you to experience things that you would never experience yourself in real life, because obviously they're not real. But the experiences that you have with them are very real. They're a lot of fun. Just find the right group, find the right DM, and, you know, just have fun with it.
And, you know, also, as you can see from Isaiah's origin story, as it were, if you have a bad group in the early on, don't necessarily give up. Find a different group. Shuffle the seats up. Try a different game. There's lots of ways you can sort of add some spice to the soup. And, you know, also, Matt, similar situation of, you know, your character gets one shot by a random panther. Don't necessarily give up.
Right.
Oh, fuck. That's so fun. Matt playing the ninja edgelord son of Hades. God, that's excellent, Matt. I thank you for that story very much.
Hell yeah.
Gonna hold on to that one forever.
Yeah, me and like 17 other fucking like people in the universe are like, wait, yeah, what's wrong? I did the same thing.
No, totally. I look. One of my Paz literally was like a dual wielding half devil that used blood magic. All right, like I get it. I get you, Chief.
Very true. Very true.
He also had katanas.
He also, yes, I dual wielded katanas specifically. There was an interesting bit about that because one of the other characters we were playing with, one of the other players who was actually my original GM, who is a much better player. His character came from the D&D equivalent of Japan. I don't remember what it's called right now. So my character had these fucking katanas, and he was like, "Why do you have katanas?" That's from my land. And I was like, I completely didn't. I like forgot that his character was supposed to be Japanese. So there was like a cool little moment that we had there. I still feel like we should just do it like we did a one shot at one point. We did two, and the rules were you had to play a kobold or a goblin, and whichever race you played in the first one, you had to swap for the second. I think we should do the same thing with just the edgiest characters we can think of.
Wait, hold on.
One shot.
No, hold on.
Oh, baby.
No. Oh god. You have two different sets, okay? Just like we have with the goblins and the kobolds. I feel like you should have the happiest go luckiest characters,
the edgelords and the cupcakes.
Edgelord, exactly. And then we swap off, because honestly, those one shots, as stupid as we were, they were fantastic.
Size of the prize, swallows the goal.
You played the Swobold. I forgot about that.
I did play the Swobold. Shit was great. I had 20 strength.
Oh my goodness.
So good.
The worst part is that I played definitely not Mike Tyson.
That's right.
My thighs is impeccable.
I'm so proud of my kobold. I feel like all of our kobolds were the better characters. I'm gonna be real. I was so proud of my kobolds. He was such a good character with like a great gimmick. My kobolds. His it's so stupid. His character idea was that he was crazy, and he believed that he was the reincarnation of Kortulmak, who is the kobold god. And he would like refer to himself in the third person as Kortulmak, and any kobolds in the game he would refer to as his disciples. and he was like an ancestral dragon monk. So he like would run around screaming with his big beady eyes, because I made sure his character art had just like the biggest, stupidest chameleon eyes. And he would, oh my god, I love Nyak. Sorry. Oh yeah, his name was so his actual name, or the character name, was Nyak, because he would scream like a fucking capuchin whenever he was like doing anything. So like the idea is that the characters just called him.
What the fuck is a capuchin?
A capuchin monkey?
Oh, I've never heard of that.
It's the monkey in all of the movies. Literally that monkey.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, just the idea was that like that's just the sound that he makes when he screams. That's what they call him. I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna be real. In my headcanon, his name is Cortulmac, and he probably just gave himself that name because his name is probably something stupid like Meepo. But like, you know.
Hell yeah, brother. Anyway, now we're way off.
We are extremely off.
I don't know. Whatever. Who needs closing statements? Anything we need to say? D&D good. And
good.
Don't necessarily give up if the initial experience not that good.
Yeah, that's
because tabletop good.
Because like you can get the vanilla experience where everybody kind of doesn't know what they're doing, or you get you're thrown into an experience and nobody tells you what you're doing, and you're just like, I understand. Also, wasn't given the rules.
Just not being the rules.
Hi, how's it going?
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
So, yeah, I don't know. Fucking follow us on Twitter. That's it. Oh, and YouTube, I guess, right? Yeah, that's the other one. Twitter and YouTube. Hit that sub on YouTube and
like,
follow on all the podcasty places.
Are we gonna throw up like our personal Twitters or?
No.
No.
What?
Not yet.
No.
Listen.
No.
My personal
No,
Twitter doesn't have anything except me liking various VTubers. We're not putting that up.
Man, that's cool. Same thing here.
The Simpitude.
Artists and VTubers. It's all right.
Yes. Okay, all right. Simpitude or me just liking art?
Yeah, sessions canceled on Twitter, sessions canceled on YouTube. Also, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and whatever other podcast places. I don't know exactly what the full list is going to be at this point. Doesn't matter. Google it. Hopefully find it. That's the best I got.
We'll have it in the description.
We'll put links. We'll put links. You know, the usual.
Oh, also,
yeah, that's
Nelson, our dear gnome. Please come back from the night hag. We miss you.
I miss Nelson every day.
Isaiah. Can't make in jokes.
I miss.
I'm trying to say goodbye.
Remember when y'all had him in a cage?
Look, the cage was for his safety.
Can we
okay?
Bruh. Goodbye.
Bye.
Sessions canceled. Podcast Incorporated.
No, we're gonna copyright it. What is wrong with you?
Episode 1.
Canceled.
Canceled.